Jocko,
Yes.
in the SEAL teams, you led all male teams. Any leadership difference in the business world with mixed gender or female teams?
So, first of all, in the military, I did work with women. There's no women in the SEAL teams, but there's women that are in intel. There's women that are in logistics. There's women in the some of the logistics support units that go out in the field sometimes. So, definitely worked with women in the military and in the civilian sector with Echelon Front. I've worked with all kinds of women in every level, from CEOs on down to frontline troopers. And here's the deal for me. It's no factor to me. What's a factor to me is, can they do their job? Do they have an open mind? Are they humble? Do they treat people with respect? Those are the kind of things that I'm judging. It's like what we talked about earlier. I'm judging, but I'm not judging based on what they are. I'm judging on who they are and who they are as a person. So that's, I see no real difference. The leadership, the way that you lead doesn't change, in my opinion, from the women I've seen in leadership positions to the men I've seen in leadership positions. The way they lead is successful because of the way they lead, not because they're male or female. And, some of the stereotypes that you might see out there, like for instance, men are tougher than women, or men or women are more emotional than men. Mm-hmm. That's just garbage. And if you see, I've seen, at least when you get to a leadership position, I've definitely seen women that were way tougher than guys were, in terms of, hey, we got to make this move for the company. Here's what I'm going to do. Boom, they execute it. Yeah. And I've seen men that were way too emotional and attached to the scenario and ruin it because they're just way more emotional than the stereotypical woman might be. So that's why I just don't think you can trust them. I look at a person, not whether they're a man or a woman. I'm looking at the content of their character. For the second time, I'll say that today. MLK. And now, when we start talking about combat, there's some physical differences that make a definite impact. And I talked about on Tim Kennedy, if you want to hear me talk about that, because when you get into some physical things, men are stronger than women. And so there's some physical limitations there. But in terms of leadership capabilities in the civilian sector, I'm not worried about men and women. Yeah, okay, are there some nuances there? There are nuances. For instance, so like one you'll hear is, I'll get asked, I'm a female and I'm in charge of these guys. How should I act, or what should I do? Because they might not like working for a girl. Right. And I say, well, they probably that guy probably wouldn't like working for a guy either, or for a younger guy, or for a guy that got moved from another department. It's the same thing. Yeah. It's the same thing. So what are you going to do? It's the same thing I always say. Be humble. Listen to what they have to say. Keep an open mind. That's what you're going to do, regardless. Male, female, whatever. It just, older, younger, doesn't matter. You want it. The being a good leader, the principles don't change. Mm. That's all there is to it. Yeah, because as an insecure guy, getting led or a girl calling shots or whatever will affect them. Mm-hmm. But like how you said, if their leadership principles are sound, doesn't matter, and they're making the right call, it's gonna be obvious that that guy's messing up, or like he's acting out of insecurity or not acting out of insecurity. It's gonna be obvious. The leadership part, as long as that's sound, you're gonna have success. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, that's no factor to me. Yeah. Next question. Okay, maybe I should bring some of the female leaders that I've worked with on the podcast. The problem with that is they're no different than the male leaders I've worked with. Because I'm sure that there's some women who listen to this and they go, "Oh, you don't know how hard it is when X." Mm-hmm. Oh, you don't know. But that's what I'm saying. Like the good female leaders I've worked with, have been like, oh yeah, that can be sometimes a problem because I'm a woman and here's what I do to negate it.
Right,
because guess what? The next day I'll be working with a different client and it's a man and he goes, well, I have to deal with X and this is how I mitigate it. So everyone's dealing with X.
Right.
Everyone's got some factor that they're trying to overcome.
Yep.
And it's just a good leader will find a way around that factor or find a way to mitigate that factor, and a bad leader won't and will then use that factor as an excuse.
Right.
Rather than just as an advantage. Yeah. There's a huge difference between taking ownership of these problems and saying, oh, you know what? Here's the issue. Okay, I'm going to own that. And I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to find a way around it. Instead of saying, oh, I'm younger. I'm older. I'm a woman. I'm a man trying to lead these. It's like, no.
Yeah.
You're a human leading another human being.
Yeah.
And so step up and lead, figure out what the issues are and overcome them.